Hey, welcome back to Season 6 of the Mindshare Podcast. This show is sponsored by Kids Keep In Touch Systems, a two-time international award-winning marketing suite for sales professionals. REM Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals. And OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, Canada's largest provincial real estate association. And speaking of OREA, what an incredible event we just wrapped up in Ottawa at Reality 24. So many people, the learning was second to none, the networking was everything you wanted and more, Magic Johnson and Damon John were powerful, and overall, everyone left inspired and amped up to take on anything that 2024 throws at them. Be sure to check out @OREA Info on Instagram to see highlights of this amazing event and to watch for notifications about next year's event. Of course, you can learn more about all of our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of our Mindshare 101 Goal Setting Worksheet, as well as learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 273. Wow. Like seriously, just an amazing past few days at Reality. I mean, we were in Ottawa. I was on stage for 2 full days as the MC of the event. And my goal was about being the glue to help everybody really soak in as much content and learning as they possibly could. I mean, events, when you've got events like that, you're literally drinking through a fire hose over the course of, this was 2 action-packed days. And so trying to remember everything, it is definitely not easy. But we'll get more into our, into all of that on our next episode. We're going to do a sort of a decompress this week and then do a breakdown next week of our biggest takeaways and what everybody should be focused on to take advantage for the rest of this year. That said, it is hard to believe that we are already in the first week of March. I still feel like we just celebrated New Year's a few days, like I guess weeks, I guess months ago now. Like, wow. And that means we only have 3 weeks left of Q1. Then we're officially into the spring, or as we know it, our spring market. Now, the big question, have you been doing everything you needed to be doing over the past 8-ish weeks or so to set yourself up for a busy spring market? Or do you think you could be doing more? I guess to be fair, we could always be doing more. And that's just reality. Even when you feel like you're firing on all cylinders, there's always more to give if we really want to dig deep to find it. And I said this to you a few times already this year, right? And we are now officially at this point. If you are still focused on your goals for this year and you have not given up, you are part of the 35% of people who remain. The other 65%, they've fallen off. They couldn't hack it. They couldn't stick to the plan. They didn't see the results fast enough. Whatever their excuse, that's exactly it. It is just an all-out excuse. Nobody's going to do it for you. No one's going to come and save you. It's up to you. And only you, every single day you get up and get at it. Remember that. Let it sink in. Don't look at it as harsh. Look at it as reality. Feeling sorry for yourself doesn't get you anywhere. It just holds you down. So, whether you've been fully on track to everything you want to achieve this year, or you recognize you can and should be doing better, there is no better time than right now to kick yourself in the ass, to drop the bullshit and to turn it around, or even just pull that throttle even harder. Life's a process of learning. Every situation that's presented to us is a challenge that helps us grow. How we overcome it, if we overcome it, it's all up to us. I just finished reading, I read a couple books a month, as you know. I just finished reading a book called The Obstacle is the Way by an author named Ryan Holiday. In that book, as I was reading that, and they were talking about a lot of, great philosophers and people that we've heard many, many stories about over the years. These could be warriors, again, philosophers. This could be just very famous people you've never met. They were here, years and years, decades and hundreds of years before us, right? But there's all these takeaways and all these stories and all these learnings that we take away. And in this one here, this was all about exactly that. When you're faced with a challenge, you have a choice. You have a choice for how you want to battle it. You have a choice for how you want to, if you want to accept it. You have a choice if you want to run away from it. You have a choice if you want to think about it, not think about it. Take action, don't take action. We all have a choice. And naturally speaking, when things get hard and they challenge us, oftentimes it creates frustration. It creates anxiety. It creates anger. It creates procrastination, or maybe leads to procrastination. But we all face challenges every single day. And part of the reading of this book, the learning from this book, is that if these people, these again, philosophers and warriors and whoever else, didn't face their challenges head on, they wouldn't have won those battles that they went through. And the bigger picture of that is you and I wouldn't even know who they are or that they existed, or we wouldn't have all this learning to take away from the fact that there was this big defeat, like David and Goliath. Even go right to that one. If David had decided, hey, and I'm not getting all religious and spiritual on you here, you know that, but if David had decided, forget it, I'm not doing this, we wouldn't even have a story of David and Goliath. We wouldn't have all these ways to paraphrase it, or these ways to kind of compare it and say, hey, but look at the David and Goliath story. The little guy can beat the big guy. We wouldn't have all that. And that's just, again, one of the many, many examples that I can share through the learning of this book. And so what it also tells us is that when you face something that you feel may not be winnable, when you face something that you feel has you so tied up in a knot you can't even think straight, you have a choice. You can decide to run away from it, or you can decide to grab the bull by the horns and face this thing dead on. Now, we all need a moment of decompression, right? We all need a moment to sit back and say, okay, wait a second. I'm not ready to do that today, or I'm not in the right frame of mind, or I can't even get my shit wrapped up right now, my head together straight, that I can't think about this at the moment. Okay, cool. So then take a moment. But don't run away. Breathe. Compartmentalize. Figure out what's actually going on. I'm telling you, there's a solution. And when you face that obstacle head on, that's the direction you're supposed to be going. Because the minute you get past it, and you will get past it, the minute you get past it, you're going to inject yourself with a whole bunch of confidence, a whole bunch of energy, self-fulfillment. Think about the positive vibes that are going to be running through your mind and how you're going to feel coming out the other side of it. At first, you didn't think you could battle it. All of a sudden, you won. That could be a deal. It could be figuring out how to edit a video. It could be a conversation with somebody. It could be getting that next level in your career. It could be hitting a goal. It could be somebody that made you angry. There's all sorts of stuff that pulls at every single one of us every single day. How we deal with it is up to us. So again, this book, The Obstacle is the Way, the big learning, the big takeaway that I took from it is, don't run from it, run into it. See, the choice is always ours. And without making hard choices, without battling, we don't achieve. So your action step here, embrace the difficulties. Run towards them instead of away from them. Prove to others, and most importantly to yourself, that you can do it, no matter what. Then all of a sudden there's that feeling that creeps up again about how much there is to do all the time. It never stops. And then that feeling turns into overwhelm and possibly even anxiety and anxiousness. And all of that, like I just mentioned, leads to procrastination. So, question: how often do you know what you need to do, yet for some reason you just don't do it? Right? Rest assured, we all go through it. And it's as if it just never stops. Then somebody comes through with all this stuff you got on your plate. You're working. Then somebody comes through and suggests something, or you have another idea, and it just makes things worse. So again, the big question I have here, before you even take action, have you looked at whether or not you even have time for it? Like whatever it is that came up? See, time continues to be the foundation of everything in our lives. It always will be. None of us have enough of it, yet we all just want it to slow down. And it really is next to impossible to all out stop, right? And although we say we want to, we don't really want to. So how do we get past this feeling of it's just, quote unquote, too much? How do we stop procrastinating? How do we stay focused? And how do we actually get shit done? Simple answer: leverage time. I know so many people who just try and act on the stuff the minute that it hits their plate. Well, if you act on it immediately, were you not doing anything to begin with? Or did you just decide that what you were doing wasn't all that important? Come on, think about it. You should technically have a lot to do every single day, and in order to get it done, you should know what it is, how long it will take, and when you're actually going to do it. Otherwise, how will you know you need to do it, and how will you ever recognize that it was done? Make sense? And if you don't recognize it was done, where do you ever get your sense of accomplishment from? Where does any sense of joy come from for you in your day-to-day? Time goes hand in hand with achieving. And we both know it. 24 hours can go by really fast. And of course, sometimes it can feel like it takes forever. What we do and how we spend that time, it all matters in relation to accomplishing and anything, along with our self-satisfaction, also known as being happy. Yeah, but Dave, I used to do a to-do list, and I just try to work through it as much as possible in my day. Oh, okay, so hold on a second. You don't actually care about family time. Or maybe you don't actually have goals you want to accomplish. Or maybe you do, but you just don't actually have a plan? I hear it all the time, right? Got a list. I have 3 things I really want to get done. I don't use a calendar, but I know I have to get it done. Yet, all of those assumptions often also include a list of things that didn't get done and reasons why we didn't accomplish something. It also leads to a lot of unnecessary stress. Because the minute someone throws something at you as a to-do, you either drop everything and start frantically working on it, and/or you stress yourself out about how much you have to do, and/or you take yourself away from your big goals that you want to accomplish. Action step. Stop with the excuses. Recognize how busy you are. Get your system and process for how your days run in place. And leverage your calendar on a daily basis. It's amazing how much more you will accomplish and how much better you will feel each day when you do that. Plus, you will have so much more time available to enjoy life as well. In fact, here's another book recommendation for you as we talk about time. This is another one that I read this month. It's called When by Daniel H. Pink. In fact, it was suggested to me by, I believe it was by Kurt Nelson, who was on our show a few weeks ago, the behavioral scientist. It's called When. And speaking of time, a few weeks ago, we got our second snowfall of the season. And although no one ever schedules to like shovel the snow, it's just one of those things that needs to get done when it snows. Well, I mean, for those of us who live where it snows and who like doing the hard work rather than hiring someone to do it for us. Anyhow, hold on. Coffee time. It's just you and me today. You know how I like to. Let's check this one out as we speak of time, right? And you should check out that book. I thoroughly enjoyed the read. It had a lot of, again, parallels to life in terms of how we manage our time, what we do with our time, when is the right time, why we get into certain moods at certain times of the day, or why we go through certain emotions at certain times of the day. It really brings a lot into perspective around how we all work with time. But anyways, I'm outside shoveling away, right? The snow that I just mentioned. And my neighbor says, and he's shoveling his driveway too, and he goes, Dave, what do you think? What's going to happen with the interest rate? So I looked at him, I replied, and I said, what does it matter? And he kind of looked at me perplexed. I said, seriously, think about it. Why does it matter what happens with the interest rate right now? Do you need to buy? Do you need to sell? Do you need to make a move? And I said, do I remember exactly how the conversation went? It went something like this, right? But he looks back at me. He's like, no, I don't have to do anything. I said, okay. So then it's really pretty irrelevant to you and your exact situation. I said, but then on the overall, when we think about the interest rate right now, sure, of course, everybody wants rates to come down. The lower the rates are, technically, the less we pay for things. Okay, cool. And lots of logic to that. However, when rates come down, and we've got this thought that when they come down, we're going to pay less for stuff, one thing that's for sure is that housing prices will continue to climb. So when you think about the rate and you think about the real estate market, as the rate comes down, housing prices go up. As the rates go up, well, people can't fully afford to go and buy houses. So we're really in this crazy catch-22 right now. And as we had Mr. Hudak on the show a few weeks ago as well, talking about the dream of home ownership and whether it's over or not, he mentioned that, the dream is very much alive. But we also talked about all the red tape that's involved in getting, new starts off the ground. And I recently read an article, actually, as early as this morning, talking about the fact that, all the property taxes have started to skyrocket across the country. Certain, areas higher than others. We know that there's some areas in BC that are going up almost 10%, or 40%. There's some in the East Coast that are about, 5%. And, I can tell you right here in Ontario, we're getting up to about the 9%. So rates continue to go up and things become, more expensive. There's a major housing crisis out there. Major. And although people will still find some money and go and, make some moves, and I'm hearing from different pockets across the country that things are actually picking up. I've got some that are really doing well and others that are pretty quiet. Some that are into crazy multiple offers. But I'll tell you, when we look at a house, an average house across Canada is $1 million right now. I think bang on at about $1 million. And in most major centers, $1 million is going to get you a starter home with maybe if you're lucky, 2.5 bedrooms, 1.5 washrooms. You go to some of the smaller centers, it's going to get you more, which is great. But then when you start getting to things like you want to get 3.5 bedrooms, you're starting to talk $1.5 to $2 million. It's crazy amounts of money. And for the fact that we got to put, call it on $1 million, you got to put your 20% down, $200,000 to buy that house. All of this is leading back to major issues with housing. We know construction starts are slow. And yes, we've had this conversation time and time again, right? What's actually going on out there? But this was the conversation I was having with my neighbor. And again, why I'm bringing this up right now is because he's asking the question around interest rates. And so the first question I went back with, why? What does it matter? Are you going anywhere? See, we can't impact or change the rate. We can't change what's going on with the market there in that sense. But what we can do, again, and this comes back to choices. This comes back to, obstacles, and maybe this comes back to, time. When is the right time? What are the obstacles to get through this? Do we even need to get through this? Or should we really look at the situation we're in at this current moment right now and be grateful for what we have? Be grateful for where we're at. Maybe not play the game of keeping up with the Joneses and have to run and do what everybody else is doing, like this sheeple mentality, because everybody else is doing it. And look, I know. You're in the real estate industry and hearing about the fact that we're having issues in the housing market, we don't want to hear that. And I'm not the mainstream media here trying to paint doom and gloom. You know that. I'm a very, very realistic person. But that reality also comes back to this whole conversation I had with my neighbor. And when he asked, like, what's going to happen with the rates? Hey, again, why does it matter? Are you doing anything right now? No, then don't worry about it. Keep going to work, keep working hard, keep doing what you got to do. Keep doing you. So action step. I guess this is a great time to remind you once again, you can't control the market. You can't control the rates. You cannot control your competition. But you can fully control what you do. And what you do is you help people. So get out there and help more people. Get out there and build more mind share. Leverage what you know works. Don't search for some secret magic pill. Put in the effort and you will get the results. Make the calls. Send the emails. Meet new people. Work your database. I know. Same old adage. And that's because it's never failed us yet. In fact, there's an interesting one. Speaking of the mainstream media, actually, we had another guest say that if you're still doing what you did 4 years ago in today's market, you've got to make a change. I got to tell you straight up, I disagree. I mean, look, if 4 years ago you really wanted to make a lot of money in this game and you're not doing anything about it, well then, yeah, you got to make a change. But if you are leveraging a cross-channel approach, you are building mindshare, you are consistently putting in the effort, that's exactly what you need to continue doing. It's not about searching for some off-the-shelf solution or some secret pill or magic potion. It's not. You know it and I know it. There's not a soul out there who's become super, super successful, except for maybe those people that happen to just luckily win the lottery. Okay? But I'm talking the biggest business moguls out there, the biggest companies out there. They will always tell you stories about trials and tribulations. They will always tell you stories about obstacles. They will always tell you stories about not having enough time, or how money was a challenge, or competition was a problem, or they had to figure something else out. There's no success story out there that goes, yeah, I woke up one morning and I, wanted to be successful. I went to bed dreaming about it and woke up the next morning and bang, I was successful. Come on. And there's no way you would believe bullshit like that, right? Again, it comes back to the hard work. If you're not willing to make the calls, but I don't like talking on the phone, too bad. You're in a people business, you're in a sales business, you're in a service business, you need to talk on the phone. Well, I'm going to run some ads on social media. Well, hey, guess what? If you aren't actually doing social media and putting yourself out there on social media on a personal level, don't expect your ads to all of a sudden change your world. Oh, email. I don't know. I mean, I send it, but I don't want to do too much. I don't want to overload people. Oh, so you're okay if your competition does, though. And they take your business, by the way. Paper, sending a newsletter? Isn't that old? And so it was here before email. It was here before social. And it's still here. There's a reason for it. Look at the biggest companies out there. They all leverage it. Sitting around and waiting and just hoping, business doesn't come that way. You got to get out there and bust your ass. Let's be real here. You got to do the things that you don't want to do in order to have the things that you want to have. Now, mainstream media, going back to that point for a second here. Well, the other day we read an article, and I know that a lot of people saw this one. The article stated that 45,000 realtors have supposedly left the business, the real estate business, since the market started changing. Now, whether the numbers are true or not, and I can't imagine the numbers are anywhere close to true, like way overinflated. But I mean, I'm completely shocked. I can't believe the mainstream media would ever overinflate something or instill fear in people. for no good reason. I digress on that point. Kind of. Not really. But seriously, people have left the industry. Let's just do it that way, right? People have left the industry. Why do you think that is? I'll tell you my thoughts straight up. They weren't cut out to be in the business anyways. They didn't have the right mindset. They thought it was easy money. They didn't put in the effort. They didn't invest in themselves. And well, now they're gone. No big deal though, right? In fact, it's a very good thing. And hopefully more will find their way into some other career as well. And I know you're nodding your head in agreement, especially if you're out there busting ass and you're a full-time realtor and this is what you've been doing for a long time. You know, these I don't want to even just say part-timers and knock all part-timers, because if somebody's trying to transition into this world and they're really putting in the effort, I want to give them all the power in the world to do that. But those people that don't take it seriously, that give our industry a bad reputation, they don't play well with friends, like colleagues, like the interactions aren't professional. People are disrespectful. They're rude. They don't do the paperwork properly. There's no proper communication. I mean, I understand cultural differences. And it doesn't even have to be different cultures necessarily for somebody to be good or bad. Everybody's got their ways, and just listen, growing up, and, everybody's taught differently, different morals or different, character traits or whatever. And again, accepting that people are different is not a bad thing. But when you come into the business thinking it's easy, when you come into the business and you do it in a shady way, and again, you give the industry a bad name to you, and I know you're not one of my listeners, so that's okay. But to them, those people get out. Forget it. Again, not the right mindset. Easy money. No effort. No investment in themselves. Not a bad thing. Go find something else that maybe you'll put more time into. And look, I don't know. I'd say I don't mean to sound negative or mean, but you know me. I really don't care if I do. Straight up. There were too many and are still too many agents in this business. And this is not coming at you as a greedy comment. Instead, this is very much about weeding out the ones who just don't treat it like a business, and of course, who give our industry a bad name through their lack of effort and their shady dealings. I mentioned years ago that when it comes to licensing, we need to have better policies around licensing agents in this industry. There needs to be a different way to go about it. I don't believe that the system we have in place right now works at all. In fact, it injects way too many people into the industry. It doesn't give people the learning that they require to get into the industry. And again, there's a lot of great learning, don't get me wrong, but there's certain missing elements in there. It also measures people, tests people in a way that is not necessarily going to tell us whether or not those people are going to succeed in business, succeed in the real estate business. But it will tell us if they can write an exam, if they can remember what they studied in a book. There's a lot of components of this business that really entail, natural skill, the ability to communicate, the ability to help people, not just fill out paperwork. Anyways, I think the whole thing needs a revamp. I think it's all very ass backwards. I've been saying this for a long time as well, almost close to 2 decades, actually. And you're probably thinking, so Dave, why haven't you done anything about it? Well, I continue to tell people. I continue to poke everybody. Trust me, I've said it to the people that actually run all of these courses. They don't like to hear it, but I mean, that's what I do, right? Somebody's got to do it for us. So look, action step here. Let them go. And just be sure that you are doing everything you have to not be one of them. And as I talk about effort, it takes very little effort to allow ourselves to get distracted in life, to chase those squirrels, to pick up our phone and aimlessly scroll social media. But what does take a lot of effort is actually posting our own content. See, everybody seems to want to grow their social media following and increase their brand awareness. And although there are millions of people who do post, there are millions more who just scroll and never post. And the reasons why I've heard, like why people don't post, they're endless. One of the biggest reasons is fear. Fear of what others may say or think. And one of the other big reasons is because most people don't think they have enough to share, or that they're important enough, or they're even creative enough. I'll tell you this. There are always going to be trolls out there. Actually, I'm going to share a few with you right now. I put up a green screen video not too long ago, and one of the comments that came across, by the way, like, listen, when you post up content, it's really important, and you don't have to pay attention to every single time you get a notification or every single time you get a comment. You don't have to sit there and every single time just go back and respond immediately. But this is where, again, having a block of time sort of like in the earlier hours of your working day is when you sort of post and get engaged with people. And then you have like a very short block of time, like, again, max 30 minutes kind of thing later on in your day where you might go back now and see, okay, who commented, who got, who engaged with me on my post and who else could I engage with on their post. Again, remember, this is social media. Walk into the coffee shop, have a quick coffee, say hello to people, have a conversation, finish your coffee and get out. So we really always want to be paying attention to, people that engage with us, people that do comment. But again, as I talk about these trolls, not only are you going to get good comments, well, you're going to get some bad comments, some negative comments, some mean comments. I did a green screen recently, and one of the comments that came back, and I mean, trust me, I've seen so many now. But one of the comments came back, and the guy says to me, or the person who posted it said, hey, can you move your fat head? I can't see what's behind you. Now, there's so many reasons to laugh at that, right? First off, like, a lot of people might be completely taken back. Like, oh my God, do you think my head is fat? Oh my God, I have a fat head. Like self-inflicted bullshit listening to some random person through a keyboard ninja. Don't let these people impact you, please. I just started laughing. I thought that's funny. Now, the person wasn't meaning to be funny. They wanted to be mean. But they're also a complete stranger. I don't know who they are. I've never met them. I'll never meet them. They mean nothing to me. And one thing we know is that, again, when I come back to this comment, a keyboard ninja, there's a lot of them out there. This is like the person at school who wanted to be mean for no reason. You just kind of look and laugh. Like, what's wrong with you, loser? You got any friends? You got anything better to do? You're just one of these people injecting negativity into our world. I got no time for you. Or the next guy who made a comment to me about, and geez, I don't even remember what he said to me. He was plain out mean. Plain out mean. I'm trying to remember what he said. But anyways, I had to look at something like, you're just a useless realtor. And I would never, ever use you based on exactly this shit that you're spewing. Something like that. Now, again, as you're scrolling through, you kind of look, and I see the guy's Instagram handle. So I just click on it for a minute. Sometimes it's funny, right? Like, you're going to, listen, you know what? That's actually a great idea right there. Action step right now. When you get a negative comment, especially if you don't know the person, I want you to click on their profile. I want to suggest that you just look at who they are for a quick moment. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be able to look and go, I don't even think this is a person. It might be a robot. Or you might look and say, there's not a single picture of themselves. They don't put themselves out there. Their social media presence is slim to none. This is just a mean person who trolls other people. Like, if you find zero substance in this individual, and quite frankly, if you found substance, you still shouldn't care. But like 9 times out of 10, when you go check out those profiles, especially these people, their handles are like random. The feed posts are random. There's nothing personal. It just puts things in perspective. So anyways, I go over to this guy's handle and I check it out. And, his name is, no, I'm not going to do that. But I go check it out. And I end up like just seeing like this guy is the resident DJ for a strip club, and he says, for the past 20 years. And again, there's no posts about himself, but he's posting like random stuff, and you think, so many things go through your mind when you see that. But again, you look back and say, okay, and look, I don't want to judge and say that this is oh man, I guess I'm judging, just like you would be right now. But I think like so many different things came to my mind about what I could possibly respond to this guy, and I decided I'm not going to say, or I think I might have said something, and to this one I responded something like, there's always one person, like there's always one each day, and today you're that one. Kind of just insinuating like, negative or mean comments or whatever. But again, and the person didn't respond whatsoever. But again, just a random comment that a lot of people could get angry with. I had one the other day. This guy's like, dude, stop giving advice. You suck. And again, I clicked on the profile quickly, and it's fun. I don't do it all the time, but it's fun. And it's also a way to let you know that like the opinions of other people, the things that people will say, they mean nothing. Zero. If you don't believe it, if you believe in you believe in what you're saying, if you've got a major nucleus of people around you that believe in you and share that with you, and you're helping, you can't let the opinions and comments of random strangers through social media matter a lick of anything. Nothing. And as you see these comments, as you see these, you sometimes just got to let them go. Other times, in order to, play the game with the algorithm, I might throw a like to that comment, and I might even respond with a one-liner or a quick whatever. I'm not looking to get into a full-on banter. Sometimes, some people may disagree with what I'm saying, but not be mean about it, just disagree. And so sometimes, and actually oftentimes, those are the exact conversations to get involved in. But don't do it in a way where you're going to argue with each other. Instead, agree to disagree. Be polite about the way you comment back. Be polite about your response. Again, whether you agree with theirs or not. What it shows now is that you don't have fear. You're willing to record a video or put some content out there, and guaranteed you're not going to appease everybody. Guaranteed you're not everybody's going to be in agreement with you. But the fact that you're putting it out there, the fact that you have no fear to put it out there, you also need to accept the fact that some people will disagree. And it's okay that they do that. So again, the idea here is click the like, comment back, thank them for their response, maybe agree with what they just said, support it in another way, but agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong. And you will find, and I have found myself, that those people will come back and almost agree to disagree with you as well. And so instead of it being like you posted something, they came back and tried to rip you on something, and then you go back and like now we've got this back and forth banter, which doesn't make anybody look good. Instead, you're both on the same playing field and you both kind of agree to disagree with each other, which also means the next time you put out a video, this person's probably going to watch it and may just come back and say something nice. And now you might actually build a new relationship with somebody because there's some respect going on. Because let's be real, right? We put out content. It doesn't mean we're always right. We try to be. We try to make sure we've got proper substance. But we also know somebody will say something that they don't agree with, or somebody will say something else. And we've just got to be open-minded. Okay, so again, as we talk about like being out there and commenting and wanting to build our brand awareness and build more mindshare and leverage social media and all these other things, conversations, remember, you're walking to the coffee shop, you're going to speak to people, and you're going to leave. And then sometimes somebody might say something like all out so stupid or so mean or so whatever. Maybe you just say nothing at all. And sometimes that's just the better way to do it. Look, you're never going to win with a keyboard ninja, keyboard warrior, these people that hide behind a screen that have no life. You're never going to win. This is what they live for. But don't let them scare you. Don't let them stop you. Now, I've shared many ideas with you about, how to come up with content. Because again, when we talk about scaring you and stopping you, we know coming up with content, what you're going to say and how you're going to say it and being knowledgeable about it is one of the biggest fears everybody has, and therefore they don't do it. So again, sharing with you how to come up with the content, I've done many times, but I've got another one here. And in fact, I tried this myself the other day. I thought, just absolutely blown away. I went over to ChatGPT and I typed in the following prompt, okay? Follow me. I typed this in. Please create a 30-day social media content calendar for me. I am a realtor. I am a husband. I want a mix of family and business. Everything should have a motivational twist. It needs to be real and down to earth, not over the top. It should show success without embellishing. I'd like one idea per day plus one business promotion per week. The goal is to grow my following of like-minded people. Unbelievable. Okay, hold on. Coffee break. It literally came back with a 30-day content calendar for me. I then replied with some additional prompts, such as make it shorter, make it funnier, give me more detail. In fact, I even said to it at one point, I'm like, hey, I want to focus heavily on Instagram and TikTok, so I need this to be in video format. It came back to me and laid out the videos. Then I was like, hey, can you give me more detail on that? And it came back and said, sure, or certainly, here's some more detail. You see, when I hear excuses about content or I'm not important or whatever, you feel you're not, or you don't know where to start. The one thing that's wild about the day and age, day and age, whatever, in the time that we're living in, everything we need is right at our fingertips. These days, we have more access to information than we could ever ask for. The answers are there. The solutions are there. It's just all a matter of how bad you actually want it, how hard you're willing to work for it, how organized you are so you can actually execute on it. Like I said earlier, there will always be more to do. And as we continue to move forward in life, we will continue to want more. The big question is, are you going to just let life pass you by? Or are you willing to put in the extra work that over 65% of the people around you aren't? I say go for it. Do everything you want to do. Plan for it and stay focused. Our outcomes in life are up to us. The choice is ours for how we want the story to go. You've got this. And as always, if you need help with any of it, I will continue to be right here for you. You're either listening to this on one of your favorite podcast platforms, or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of our Mindshare 101 goal setting worksheet to help you conquer 2024 and become the version of you that you really want to be. A reminder as well that if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching, an in-person keynote talk for your upcoming event, and or ongoing virtual training, just get in touch with me. We'll set up a consultation call, learn more about what you're looking to achieve, and how we will help you do just that. For all inquiries, just get in touch with us today. Don't forget to leave a review of this podcast at www.ratethispodcast.com/Mindshare101. Connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101, on TikTok at Mindshare101, and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. I want to thank Kids Keep in Touch Systems, REM Magazine, and OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, for sponsoring the Mindshare podcast. This has been another episode of the Mindshare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.